Welcome to the Low Carb Athlete Podcast, where we focus on discussing topics to help you burn fat, optimize health, and improve performance in life and sports. Transform the whole you from the inside out with the WHOLESTIC Method. Let's dive in. Here's your host, Debbie Potts.
Hey everybody, I've got my friend Brad Kearns on the show, Low Carb Athlete and the Get Over Yourself host, talking shop today.
I am so glad to be here, Debbie, and excited about your new location. Even though we're doing it on Zoom, you could be anywhere, but you're in SoCal.
I know. I'm looking out to Elfin Forest and the Lake Hodges right here, and I'm excited to be podcasting with you as my first podcast in this office. It's not decorated. So if we post a video, I'm at white walls and it might sound echoey. I got to create the little accessorize to make the sound better.
Yeah, artwork, foam padding.
Foam padding
artwork. How about that?
There you go. Since that on Amazon too. So Brad, you've been busy man. You're always like doing the N=1 experiments. You're writing books all the time. What is going on in your world since, it is mid-September already? That's the thing. I don't know this fall season. There's no change in colors here. I have green palm trees out my window. But what's going on in your world the last 6 months with the COVID thing? We haven't really connected for a while. And, what's your focus areas right now and what you're trying to do?
Well, my life's the same as always. I spend a lot of time in a closet recording or working on books, and then go out for a workout by myself and then come back home. So my heart goes out to the firefighters right now. Mm-hmm. People on the West Coast of America are getting hammered. And then, the disruption in life that the pandemic has brought, especially for young folks and for senior citizens, where I feel like the impact is worse on those two groups. I mean, I can burn a year of my life, no problem. I got a lot more ahead, and but my kid graduating college from the comfort of his bedroom wasn't quite what he dreamed when he set off to the beautiful campus of UCLA. So much adjustment going on. And but when we're talking to low carb athletes and trying to maintain fitness and maintain goals when the races are canceled and your gym's closed, I think it's a good opportunity for a growth experience where you can kind of internalize your goals more, because you're not getting on the podium anytime soon until the races come back. But my journey now, I mean, I used to compete on the pro circuit, and it was very serious, and it was my profession, and we were on TV and in the magazines, and I was trying to earn money to pay the mortgage. And so it was a pretty intense go there. But now I'm just an aging athlete trying to still maintain that competitive intensity and that passion, even though, relatively speaking, my goals could be, seen as, silly or insignificant compared to a person who's, competing at professional level. But to me, deep down inside, when I go to the empty high school track and climb over the fence, because it's closed now, and put up the high jump bar and try to clear a good height, I'm so excited, and it means so much to me. It's just the same as when I was racing on ESPN for the national title on the tri-circuit many, many years ago, because I want it to have that significance and, cultivate that passion and that importance, but also be able to release my attachment to the outcome so that I don't have a flawed competitive mindset. And, your beautiful life's work in your book and what you talk about on the show is, I think, trying to get to that same goal where, yeah, you can be training for Kona once again with the very best athletes from around the world and fly over to the islands, but it's all about the ceremony and the camaraderie with the other athletes. And if your day goes well, hey, that's wonderful, and it's definitely something to celebrate. But if you have two flat tires like Mark Allen did in 1988 when he was the guy on the Wheaties box trying to promote the Ironman cereal, boy, that can be devastating. But you got to get back up and keep a smile on your face and do these athletic goals for the right reasons.
There's a lot there. I'm just trying to come back.
I think you asked me what's new in my life. So we can talk about, we had great notes because you and I engage on emails and phone calls, and we say, we got to talk about this on the podcast. So The carnivore-ish dietary pattern
Yeah.
is so exciting to me, but I'm also
Uh-huh.
sitting back and saying, we shared this thought together that this extremism and this obsession with dietary perfection or distinct strategies seems to be getting a little bit out of hand and creating extra stress in the health conscious person who's trying to, do the right thing in life. And I keep going back to Peter Attia, who is one of the most extreme guys out there, right? And
Mhm.
extreme endurance feats and extreme self-experimentation. And when I had him on my podcast and asked him about a dietary tip for the audience, he said, if you just eat stuff that your great grandmother could have eaten and stay away
Mhm.
from the other stuff, you're
Yeah.
getting 80% of the way towards your longevity and peak performance potential. Now, you want to go try for the other 20%, that's great. But for even many people listening to, a distinct show like yours, we still have this junk leaking into the picture. We still have the refined industrial seed oils that are in some of the products in our
Mhm.
refrigerators. If you went and did a home consultation with your client, you're like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that had bad oils in there. So there's still so much room for improvement of just getting the crap out of the diet that we shouldn't even go to the macronutrient percentages and your ketone blood levels until we start living a cleaner life.
Well, just kind of organize all those thoughts. I think, what's going on in our world right now this year is everything happens for a reason. I think it's an eye opener to people that are racing nonstop, always just like going from the one race to the next race. Teach you to slow down and learn how to not have to rush out of bed in the morning, get your training in at the gym because you can't go to the gym. And maybe you're slowing down a little bit, but then also the majority of the world that's not healthy. And I keep posting every day, get healthy, not stay healthy, because everyone's not even healthy underneath. And, doing the lab testing to really identify how healthy you are under the hood. But I think a lot of people, should take this opportunity to work out a little differently, like where you're saying what you're doing, sprinting and switching it up, working on mobility, flexibility, working on core work, and switching up the routine. I look back of, how I am now to how I was when I was racing for 10, 15 years. I was rigid. I was set to that schedule, follow your training peaks, follow whatever program your coach gives you. Every day was, Monday, Wednesday, Friday was this workout, and I swim at lunchtime, then I run, and now it's like screwed up. Ever since probably March, April, people's lives have changed. And yeah, I think you have to look at what the gift is in this world we're in right now. And I think it is like, okay, let's start doing some sprinting. Let's look at Brad's running drills he's showing on his Instagram and look at proper form and how to use your core. My friend Erin Carson's doing a ton of great stuff, doing her EC Fit on Monday mornings, Mobility Monday, and take this for the opportunity to do all this stuff you never got to before because you were sucked into living life as a race, including nutrition, sleep, and the other elements of what I call the holistic method.
That's great. I think also the opportunity to become more functional and resilient against injury and breakdown
Mm-hmm.
because of the lack of competition and the change in routine. And that's something that I've really focused on this year is, how am I doing with my one-legged Bulgarian split-legged squat, right?
Yeah.
I can go put a lot of weight on my back and do a bunch of squats in the gym, but when you can identify these functional weaknesses and work on those, you have a great potential for improvement. But I think when we're too busy with these specific goals, for me, it's been high jump. I've been obsessed with high jumping recently. And when I had full access to the facilities, I'd go out there and jump my butt off. And my body broke down a little bit because I wasn't spending time doing a workout that was purely for mobility, injury prevention, balance, things like that. So now when we're stuck at home more, I think especially a multi-sport athlete like the world that you operate in, oh my gosh, you could see people with, poor shoulder flexibility that are hitting the masters workouts 4 days a week and swimming 12,000 meters, but with a crappy stroke the whole time. And so I think there's potential to come back to the competitive arena with a whole new package. It's more impressive. I'm watching the NBA playoffs, and these guys look better than ever and more explosive and more athletic. And I think it probably helped them from not having to have that extreme travel schedule and that, excessive 82 game season with all the cross country travel. These guys are probably barely holding on by the time the playoffs come. And now everybody seems fresher and haven't lost a step. So yeah, no excuses, right? Get fitter this year instead of complaining.
Well, it's identifying what your areas of opportunity are. It's like, here's what I'm not great at. Instead of avoiding it, embrace it and do something about it. Like, we've been doing yoga and yin yoga, which my hips are so tight. I can actually sit cross-legged when I'm coaching my clients online now, Zoom. I sit there and do my feet this way and sit that way and then sit cross-legged, and my right hip is so much tighter than my left, but I keep trying to force myself to sit that way that's uncomfortable and let it try to relax. So it is, enjoying those things that you don't like to do and what you need. But you've been out running, and I must add, fun fact, 4th grade, best high jumper in British Columbia, gold medalist. I think it was 4th grade, but I never high jumped after that. It was funny. But high jumping and sprinting and agility, that's so much of what we learn and read about for aging athletes, and as for women as they get older, menopausal, to lift more heavier weights. But if that saying, you use it or you lose it, and the more important thing is that springiness, that agility and balance, and all that stuff is so great to just do these shorter, more intense workouts and working on kind of your bounding exercises and drills. I think it's good for people as they get older, rather than, when you're 30, 40, wait till you're 50, 60 to start doing that.
Yeah. I mean, here I am. I'm thinking of my Jogging 2.0 theme. I'm working on an article and a video because it's been kind of an interesting revelation for me. I mean, I've jogged in the morning as part of my routine for, it's like 40 years now, Debbie, since I was a high school runner. And it just sort of like brushing my teeth in the morning. I'd head out and get the dog out, and I would do a steady state cardiovascular workout that was very low intensity, definitely MAF heart rate or below. So I wasn't doing anything that was going to cause me overtraining. It was just kind of to get out and wake up in the morning. But it was always just at whatever pace. Once upon a time, it was maybe a 7-minute pace. Now it's a 9:15 pace to make sure I'm staying aerobic. But just recently, I realized I wasn't feeling it anymore. And I changed this lifelong exercise habit into a more varied and challenging workout. And so now, because of my high jump goals, honestly, but also it just didn't feel right anymore. And it didn't feel good in my body or my mind to come back from another 35-minute steady state cardiovascular workout. And now we see the research where, the chronic endurance training has a huge risk of cardiovascular disease, hormone imbalances, all these things from what you think is just a moderate session. But now what I've done is I've changed this template workout to one where I head out and I'll jog for a few minutes, and then I'll do some balance drills. And it'll take, a minute or two. And some of them are pretty challenging, like the hover lunge, where you just stand and try to do a one-legged squat and then get back up. And if I do 15 of those, I'm kind of breathing hard and I need to walk to recover. So then I'll walk a minute or two to recover. And then I'll come across a rock in the forest and I'll jump up and down the rock 10 times. It doesn't look too impressive on video because I filmed it. I'm like, oh, I thought I was flying through the air, but I'm kind of just, If you jump up and down a rock 10 times, it's a pretty strenuous move. You're getting that ballistic explosiveness, helping your bone density, getting that high intensity stimulation. So then I'll have to walk a minute or two after that. And then I'll jog for 5 minutes or 7 minutes. And when I get home, I've had a much more varied workout with all these different fitness benefits, but I've also obtained a great cardiovascular workout. Because from the time I left the door, my heart rate was elevated to at least double my resting heart rate, even when I'm walking, right? And when I'm getting those brief high intensity stimulations, they're not challenging enough to compromise tomorrow's proper high intensity sprint workout, because they only last for a minute or 20 seconds or whatever. So it's not like going to put me into a state of overtraining or anything, But all told, I'm still getting all my cardio that I've always gotten from that steady state session, but I'm also been working on my balance and my high jump takeoff form and the flexibility of my shoulders if I'm doing a hanging on the tree branch or something like that, and also having more fun and looking at fitness from a different perspective than just, hey, how's your mileage this week? What was your heart rate zones and all these things that get us into that more robotic mode where our concept of fitness is too narrow.
Well, that's what reminded me of all the races that were online, the Ironman virtual races. And I know we need to keep people in business and, keep supporting events, but it's almost like, gosh, maybe people should take a break and let their body recover, repair instead of doing these online races. I was thinking, well, they need the money, but people training on their trainer.
Does it cost money to do a virtual race?
I think so. I would think you have to pay something.
What are they going to send you, a t-shirt or something?
They get a medal.
Oh,
I
my
saw
gosh.
this guy, I forget who it was, somewhere on Instagram, someone I was following, and they've done every time. They're actually overtraining, over racing, because they did all the races, like 15 races. I'm like, what? Okay, we still
right. You could do more because you don't have to travel to the race.
I don't have to go anywhere.
Out your door.
Yeah, you don't have to pay for a flight and travel fees and hotel and all that. You're at your own house, so why not do a race every weekend? And so I think it's, getting stuck and you're getting in that overtraining. We've talked about forever burnout and breakdown of your body's systems because you're in the chronic stress mode. And, it's that AAA personality we were talking about the other week. It's like, okay, more is better. Let's do it. Bring it on. Give me that challenge. I'm super elite. No one can, I can do it all and no one's going to tell me no. I just do more.
Oh man. I'm still trying to solve that equation, deal with that battle. And what I'm trying to figure out now is, obviously I'm putting a lot of great parameters into place where I'm not in overtraining patterns. But when I get out there and do these high intensity workouts, they're so fun for me, to practice high jumping and do the full speed approach and do 12 instead of 4 or 6 or whatever. I just love it. And I want to get better so much. But then I notice 24 hours, 36 hours later, I'm kind of feeling fried. I'm stiff and sore. And that's an indication that I stress my body too much to, achieve the best ultimate progression forward. But at the time, if you'd asked me, I'd say, oh, I feel fine. I can do a couple more sets. And I think that's one thing that all athletes have to reckon with, is that pleasure and enjoyment you get and that sense of satisfaction sometimes needs to be tempered a little bit to where you say, hey, I'm going to leave the track now, even though I know I have a few more in me. And I'd really like to perfect those final 2 steps if I had a few more practice runs, but I'm going to save it for another day. And by doing so, you can alleviate that muscle soreness, that muscle damage that takes a lot of time and energy to repair rather than just, build. And boy, it's still a constant challenge. I went out there, I took my son out, who's, a college athlete in his prime. And I took him through my sequence of jumping drills. There's like 16 sets and they last about 10 or 15 seconds. And then I went over and did some full jump approaches. And he's like, Dad, that was a hard workout for me. And you're freaking 55 years old. You shouldn't do all that every time. And I'm like, really? It was hard? Oh, cool. My workout's hard. Because I'd never done the workout with anybody before. But, then I thought about it. My knee hurt after that particular workout for a long time. I messed it up a little bit and I missed a few workouts after that. So I think now we're seeing this trend of fitness experts recommending that you just back off a bit. Yeah. Maffetone's been talking about this a lot. He told me on a video several years ago, he goes, yeah, I don't think that you should get sore after workouts ever. And I'm like, what? And there's a guy on Joe Rogan. You can search this clip on YouTube. His name is Firas Zahabi, Firaszahabi. He's a noted MMA trainer out of Toronto, Canada. And he was on Joe Rogan. The clip's on YouTube and it's got 8 million views or whatever. But he says, yeah, I don't like my athletes getting sore in the workouts. And Joe Rogan's like, what the F you talking about, man? I get sore every single time I'm working out. Joe Rogan, tough guy, work out, push it. And he's like, no. He goes, if you perform just under that capacity to where you don't achieve the muscle damage that creates soreness, you can come back the next day and do more cumulative work than if you had done these epic killer sessions that got you all sore and tired, and then you had to back off for the next 5 or 6 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same thing
Makes
with
sense.
Craig Marker. You know Dr. Craig Marker, and he wrote that, I think, transformative fitness article. It's the best thing I've read in years and years. It's an amazing article, and it's called HIT versus HURT.
Oh, yeah.
So we know HIT is HIIT, and that's the super cool, popular workout mode of the day. And HURT is his take on it, which is high intensity repeat training rather than high intensity interval training. So the interval workout implies that you're trying to repeat a consistent performance over and over with not quite enough rest, to the extent that you're going to be exhausted and depleted at the end of the workout. We used to do 6 times 3 minutes with 30-second jog recovery at anaerobic threshold. That was our key running workout. And so the first one, the second one feel pretty good, but the fifth and the sixth, when you only have 30-second jog recovery, you are fighting it to try to hit that 3-minute benchmark.
You
and
do
at the end
3
of the
minutes
workout,
hard and then 30 seconds recovery?
30-second jog. Yeah, it's a classic anaerobic threshold session.
Yeah.
On the bike, you do 5 times 4 minutes with a 40-second easy pedal. Sometimes up a hill is a great way to do it. But these workouts are brutal when you're in a pack with some tough guys. So, you know, after these interval workouts, you're pretty tired. You have recovery days afterward. But if you think about this concept of high intensity repeat training, what he's talking about is, let's say, doing a sprint effort of an appropriate length, which is 10 to 20 seconds, never longer than 20. Anything over 20 is not a sprint. It's more of a, you know, it's an interval. It's training for a specific event or something, but a true explosive sprint should not last longer than that, because the human cannot perform at maximum intensity for longer than 20 seconds. So if you do a 10 to 20 second sprint, and then you take a really long recovery period afterward, you step back up to the line, and on the second one, the third one, the fifth one, the seventh one, the eighth one, you're delivering a performance of equivalent quality to the very first one, because you've had so much rest and recovery. And for the endurance athletes, like, wait, I'm going on the send off on my swim workout. We're going on the top every time. We're doing 20 times 200, and you know, you're fighting that pain and suffering mode. You can endure 5 more reps and all this kind of stuff that's programmed into our brains. But if you think about how a true sprinter trains, Usain Bolt and the great Jamaicans and the great coaches in America and Canada. Charlie Francis, probably the greatest sprint coach of all time, and at least way up there. He coached Ben Johnson, so his name and his reputation were tarnished forever because of the doping scandals. But now, if we go back and read his books and his research and the way he trained these athletes, he had tremendous results. And he would have athletes resting for 15 minutes between sprint efforts, you know, and it would be a 60-meter sprint from Ben Johnson on the 15-minute rest interval, you know. But then when he did another one or a third one or whatever he did, it was absolute maximum level performance with no fatigue, no cellular damage and destruction going on while you're trying to do your 7th or your 8th one. And that, I feel, for a routine guy like myself, who's in the higher age groups now and can't recover bulletproof like someone who's in their 20s, these are things that we really need to think about, is to still achieve these explosive efforts that delay aging and use it or lose it, like you said, but taking plenty of rest so you're not punishing yourself out there, and you come home and you feel pretty good, rather than you feel, oh, where's my Ben and Jerry's carton, or let me stop at Jamba Juice and get a medium smoothie and a breakfast scone, which is more calories than I just burned in this intense workout.
Exactly. I know. So it's funny. I ran the other weekend, and on a Sunday we did this long run, and I had a great run. And I never posted this, but I actually hadn't run all week long since the previous Sunday. I'm like, wow, there's something to this, because we were biking more, because for various reasons, because we were in the mountains and it's great riding. So like, let's take advantage and ride. And then when I was running every day, or, you know, during both biking and running, I was actually slower and taking longer to recover. But if I leave, you know, like 3 days in between to run, now, I mean, I'm 48 right now, but I find that I actually have a better run. Then I didn't run all week long. I'm like, holy crap, I haven't run for a whole week and actually had a better workout. It's funny. So
I know. I mean, what else matters, really?
Yeah,
It's funny. Whether you had a better workout, nothing else matters. I mean,
Yeah.
Sisson was trying to get this through my brain over 30 years ago when he was coaching me as a triathlete. He says, look, just focus on your breakthrough workouts, the ones that
And
are
what
the
did you
most
do?
difficult and challenging, that stimulate a fitness improvement, rather than on your weekly mileage and on how you fit in the
Mhm.
pack on a day-to-day basis. Because I'd come home, in tears from training camp at Mike Pig's house, like I can't even hang anywhere near what this guy does every single day. And that's because, these elite athletes are so gifted and have the genetics to just perform and recover and get up the next day and do it again and do it again. DeBoom, our old friend who was the two-time Hawaii Ironman
Mhm.
champion, he was over at Pete Kane's house in the Bay Area training for one of his Ironman victories. And I was like, wow, how cool, Pete. You hosted the champion of the world in his preparation for his thing. What was his training schedule like? Was it pretty, complex and all that? And he goes, he just went out and rode 5 hours a day. That's all he did. It was like so simple. And of course he ran and swam too, but like the foundation of these guys training is just
Mhm.
something that they are uniquely adapted to do. And it's like, yeah, how about that? If you're a listening triathlete, just ride your bike 5 hours a day and you'll get really good and race in the, in the Ironman against Tim DeBoon. No, it might be
No.
kind of tiring for you to ride 5 hours a day
Yeah.
in the mountains at a good pace. But
I,
you don't want to compare yourself, I guess is what I'm saying, to other athletes, except for in the race venue. And then look at your own workouts. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, I used to remember, Debbie, coming off the winter, we would finally take a break from swimming for maybe 6 or 8 weeks. I wouldn't get in the pool. And I'd lift a little bit with my Bowflex machine and, jog or mountain bike or, try to keep in a little bit of shape. But I'd get back in that pool. And after about 2 to 3 workouts, getting loosened up and getting the stroke right again, I'd set PRs. And it was like, I should have reasoned with it better at the time. I just thought it was cool that I'd set
Mhm.
PRs. But it's like, wait a second, you're training your butt off for 9 months a year, dealing with sore deltoids and
Mhm.
strains and,
Shoulder.
exhaustion. And then you're setting PRs after resting for
Yeah.
6 to 8 weeks. Is there something wrong with your training schedule, perhaps, if that's how things are going? And it's totally true, but it takes a lot of courage and a lot of belief to step away from that mindset that more is better.
So I wonder if that takes same effect if you haven't see it's 9 September 16th and last time I was in the pool was March 16th. And I'm always like I've like we'll take a month off is the most I've ever taken from swimming. And today I was trying to go swimming today or for sure by Friday, trying to book. I have to, reserve a lane now in Salon. I've
Oh
been
yeah.
to this pool and try it out. But it's like, wonder what it's gonna be like swimming my first time and 6 months off if I even remember how to swim, or if it's better because a lot of times, as you said, I wouldn't swim for a week or two for various reasons, or on vacation in Europe or whatever, and then you come back like, God, my swim stroke's so much better. What did I just do? I just was just right on, and now it's okay. Am I starting over? Maybe that's a good thing. So.
Yeah, I mean, 6 months is you're probably going to struggle for a while. I mean, there's some great research on detraining and tapering
Not
that's
detraining
really
them up.
interesting to me. And
Yeah.
so the detraining effect happens very quickly. So if you get COVID and you're flat on your back for 3 weeks, you're going to lose an incredible amount of conditioning in a very short time. Anything with a flu or anything that debilitates you, or if you're an injured runner and you don't do other sports and you're out for a month, you'll come back and you'll have chafing in the thighs and you won't even know where your feet are placed on the ground. I remember that
Mhm.
from college where I'd get injured and I'd sit back and do nothing and then try to run again. And so the detraining effect is real and
Yeah.
it's extreme. The graph goes down very quickly, but the tapering science is so fascinating because you can maintain all of your conditioning and possibly have a performance breakthrough from dramatically reduced training for quite a long period of time. I know David Costel did a lot of studies with swimmers at Ball State, their performance lab, and this might be not entirely specific, but I think it was something like 8 weeks of half training, so half volume and half intensity, basically cutting every single workout in half for 2 months, and then you go set a PR. This is, validated by science somewhere around there. Brad Kearns giving a generalization there, but that's a pretty heavy insight. And
Yeah.
so when you're talking about the off season, this is from Simon Wetfield, Olympic gold medal and
Yeah,
Olympic
Simon.
silver medal in triathlon. He says,
Hmm.
this idea of like taking 6 weeks off in the winter to rest and recover, I don't believe in that. What he believes in is just taking these miniature breaks throughout the year where, let's say 2 or 3 weeks of dramatically reduced training. But yes, he did go out for a 5-mile jog on Wednesday, and he rode his bike easy for a couple hours on the weekend, and he got in the pool and swam, 1,000 meters of laps a couple times during that 3-week period. So then when he starts training again, he has lost nothing,
Hmm.
zero, compared
Makes
to
sense.
Debbie Potts not swimming one stroke for 6 months. Yeah, you're going to
Uh,
struggle, but you know what? You come back quickly as well. And I
uh,
think there's a 1-to-1 ratio in my personal experience and talking to a lot of athletes over the years that if you're off for, let's say, 6 weeks in the winter, it's going to take you 6 weeks to get back to where you were before that detraining. And
yeah.
that's not a big deal to me. I mean, think about taking a year off of sport because you had to go to the Middle East and build a building and you couldn't exercise or whatever. It's going to take you a year to get back to your podium spot finish that you left with. That's not a long time when you think about not doing anything for a year. So a 3-week illness, it takes 3 weeks to get back into the groove. That's fine. But if you can figure out that tapering part where you can
Yeah.
just do a bare minimum and preserve all that things that you worked so hard for the last decade, that's pretty cool.
Hmm. I hope people were kind of taking this time to be a little bit more off season, switching things up, muscle confusion, just shock the body, doing different things. And like I said, power yoga. We've been doing Travis Elliott on this Inner Dimensions TV that's only like $100 for the year, and just doing this different yoga stuff so hard. And then I'm setting up my new gym up on our hilltop sanctuary, I call it. And we have this glass house. I'm going to build a little studio and then figure out where I can tie the rip trainer and bands outside. And we have this little putting green. So I'm just trying to create this outdoor workout studio so I can get into some new stuff I haven't done for a while. But I think it's a great time to mix things up. But I do want to transition so we don't run out of time on nutrition, because I know we were talking about, you've written a lot of books with Mark Sisson, you're working on a new book. We're talking about intermittent fasting a lot over the year, and one meal a day, which I've, done for years without intentionally thinking about it, and talking about 2 meals a day, and, labeling what we eat. As this show is called Low Carb Athlete, I don't like to say I'm keto. I don't like to say I'm carnivore. I eat by what I feel like, and time of year, the season, what my activity level is. I'm kind of more of a 5-2 person. I think, I focus more intermittent fasting. Like I get busy working, like it's 10:38 right now. I still haven't eaten, and I just get busy in the morning and end up not eating, just because you feel like, oh yeah, I haven't eaten, I'm not hungry yet, to about noon. And anyways, just kind of working on nutrition, because people are working at home, they're working out at home. There's a great opportunity, not just working on your exercise routine, switching things up, but also being more aware of what you're putting in your body. My main focus is eat real food, balances your blood sugar, and burn fat, but make it sustainable, not a diet. Because I grew up dieting, and anytime I think I have to be strict carnivore, I can't eat any of this, I can't eat that, I can't eat that, that's a diet to me. So as long as people, it's what their body wants and what you crave and what you feel good at doing, and that's right for your metabolic type and your genetics. I think there's a lot to it. What's your thought?
Yeah, I think you should rename your show the low processed foods athlete, right? And
Yeah.
just to make that clear, that nutritious carbohydrates, a lot of people can see you know a strong rationale to consume those as needed to
Mm-hmm.
help perform and recover, especially. I think the big problem is consuming those nutrient deficient processed carbs that spike insulin and set you on that roller coaster of requiring more of the same in a
Mm-hmm.
vain attempt to nourish yourself and sustain your energy and your cognitive function throughout the day. So I think we should all start at that entry point of healthy eating, which is to get rid of the junk. And I had Rip Esselstyn on my podcast, who's a prominent leader in the whole food plant-based community, him and his father and his whole family, and they're promoting this pretty much vegan dietary pattern, which is quite opposed to a lot of people in the ancestral health scene and the work that I've done in my books and video courses with Mark Sisson. And, we old friends from the triathlon scene, and we talk for an hour or more. And there's so much common ground, even though these two diets are as disparate as you can get. And he's saying that the eggs and the red meat are going to clog your arteries and you're going to drop dead. And, then I have the next week, Paul Saladino on my podcast saying that you don't need to eat any plants. And in fact, they could be bad for you. But if we can reconcile all this stuff, instead of get stressed and confused about it, the common ground is that people are eating wholesome, nutritious foods from the earth that have been minimally processed and full of good nutrition. And then you got to work out some of the details on your own. And if you want to ask me if I advocate removing all animal foods from the diet, I'm going to strongly disagree with that approach. And there's plenty of science to support that. But the people on the other side are touting their own science. But, we're also, no one's touting going down to Jamba Juice and 7-Eleven and slamming sugar all day long in liquid form. So I think it's more doable and simple and convenient than we have been led to believe by the dogmatic approaches and the heavy-handed programming that we're faced with when it comes to eating healthy. But just to pick up on what you said there, and our new book coming out is called 2 Meals a Day, and the idea is that how frequently you eat is arguably just as important as the foods that you choose. So if you're into this keto thing and you've got your keto snacks and you're nibbling on something that's high in fat all day long in between these high fat meals, you're never giving your digestive system a break. The research from your neighbor down there at UC San Diego Salk Institute, Dr. Panda, talking about the digestive circadian rhythm and the absolute necessity of limiting our digestive function to a maximum of 12 hours a day, never more than that. So these things and taking breaks to allow your body to get good at fasting and to process energy internally, that can go hand in hand with, let's say, a celebration that has a high carbohydrate content in the evening. That's Ben Greenfield's argument to get the best of both worlds, where he's fasting for many hours, he's eating ketogenic meals, but then he's having fun with his family and they're making concoctions in the kitchens, and he might get a big dose of carbohydrates in the evening, which ensures that he recovers from the hard training that he did that day. So I'm trying to work that out myself and figure out the winning formula. I'm pretty enthusiastic about what I guess I would now call a carnivore-ish pattern, where I'm emphasizing the animal foods and my plant consumption is more strategic, and I'm not going out of my way to find big giant piles of produce as I have in the past in the name of health, because I'm really convinced that these carnivore advocates have a point, and we can all relate how we have some reactivity to consuming plant toxins, which is gas, bloating, indigestion, autoimmune and inflammatory conditions throughout the body. And it's certainly worth testing if you do have any nagging conditions that you're complaining about. In my case, I didn't, but I noticed that more of my food comes from extremely nutritious sources, such as the animal organs, grass-fed liver, pasture-raised eggs, sardines, and other oily cold water fish. And so when more of my calories comes from that, I feel super well nourished and things are working really well. My digestion, my elimination is excellent, and I don't have that gas, bloating, indigestion that maybe I could attribute to throwing piles of raw produce into my smoothie in the name of health and then walking around with a bloated stomach for hours afterward.
That's a lot too. Yeah, I think
I know I hit you with another handful.
There's like 20 different things there. So one thing I have is my NutriSense. I'm putting the continuous glucose monitor. I got to set this up because I'm podcasting with them. So I've got the kit. Is that what that is?
I got my monitor on right now.
Is that NutriSense or is that a different one?
I've tried the NutriSense. I've tried the Levels Health. There's these great companies that are on the cutting edge, and I encourage people to look into it because it's a wonderful tracking tool to see how not only your food choices but your lifestyle affects your blood glucose in real time. It's amazing insights. Yeah.
Well, what I talk about and try to talk about every day is chronic stress impacts the whole you. So you can say, everything that you talked about, nutrition and your exercise, but if you are stressed out on just daily life and financials, your work, your people you're living with. And then you've got hidden internal stressors that you don't know about. It will affect your blood sugar. It will affect your ability to burn fat. So your digestion could be poor because you're eating in a stress mode. So all these different things are optimizing your health, the way you're exercising, the way you're training, recovering, repairing, your strength training, mobility, all that, and then eating real food and choosing to eat more animal-based products and less of the poisonous plants that we're learning about. But you got to work on your stress. So what we talk about FDN practitioners, as Reed Davis calls the DRESS protocol, is D is dress for health success, is diet, rest. I hate the word diet, but nutrition, rest is your sleep, your exercise, and your stress reduction, stress management, and then the supplementation based on your lab testing, what we do. But it's, not all those together. And like what we've talked about, the Goldilocks effect, not too much of that, not too much of this, just the right amount for your body, your individual needs, because your body's going to respond differently to your food experiments and your exercise and recovery repair than someone else's. So there isn't one size fits all approach as you keep doing this experimenting. How do I feel? How's my recovery? Did my knees hurt? How was my sleep? How's my mood, my energy, my headaches, inflammation, all that stuff, it's all combined together. So it's good to experiment, and I'm excited to hook this up because I know I've done labs just recently. I have mold toxicity from the organic acid test I didn't know about, and it's from my old house. And I had no idea because I didn't do that test before, but something was off, and I feel pretty good. But if you know that, I'm feeling pretty good, but I'm running at say 50% capacity, energy level, versus I could be so much better. So you kind of get to settling that this is how you are, this is your new normal, not realizing there's so much more you can do for your health, but really figuring out what to eat, because that will impact a lot of your gut health.
Well, that's nice that you talk about all the other factors. I mean, that's the holistic approach, right? Because I think we make this mistake of obsessing on the most obvious things, like let's say our diet and our workout patterns. And it's not going well this month, and my times are slower, and I'm eating the perfect diet, and I thought I was on the perfect training regimen. Oh, but I'm having arguments with my girlfriend every single day, and I'm totally stressed at work. And so we have to make those connections and string them all together. Otherwise, we're kind of wasting our time with diet experimentation if you're walking around with a lot of anger and a chip on your shoulder, right?
Yeah, and that's my job, and that's what I feel like it's my purpose, and that's what I've switched my career to be about, is health coaching people with those chronic stressors, how you could be doing all the right things, but you still are struggling with these unexplained symptoms that we don't know about unless we assess with some functional labs and look at putting all the pieces of the puzzle together, because there's so much more going on. The people that still don't feel good. Yeah, I'm trying carnivore, I'm doing keto, I'm exercising, HIIT training just the right amount, I'm walking, I'm doing sun exposure, I'm doing my ice baths, and you still feel like something's going on. So that's kind of what I'm doing. But, I think doing this 14-day experiment with NutriSense, or what's the one you're doing called?
Levels Health has a CGM and a comprehensive program behind it.
Yeah, so I think it's fun to do. This one's a 14 days. Most of them are all 14 days, aren't they? And then you have to get a new one. Yeah, so I think it's just good experimenting. And I look at people's DNA fit, something like that, and take that into account. And then all the food zoomers we do through Vibrant Wellness and other lab tests kind of correlate all that data together to figure out what should you eat. Because it's not just, what you're eating, but there's a lot of people that are eating healthy foods that could be tagged as enemies in your body system if they're tagged as food sensitivities and allergens. And so testing that could be a common thing you're eating all the time that keeps causing inflammation in your body. But also looking at how you're eating, when you're eating, why you're eating is what I always look at. When just nutrition, what you're eating is one thing, but the whole, when is what you're working on. Is we've talked the intermittent fasting, time restricted eating, how you're eating. Are you sitting down, chewing your food, focus and relax is a huge thing. You can eat healthy, eat real food, be keto or carnivore, which I'll add in, side note, I think a lot of people, I saw someone posting the label, they're like, of some food that, they're measuring out their blood sugar. But then someone asked what's in it, and they had this huge list of graphs. So even if it's keto labeled or, carnivore, it's like, okay, remember, real food, Michael Pollan food rules. Eat like what you said, Peter Tia said. What did your great-great-grandmother eat? Can you understand the ingredients? Are they 5 ingredients or less on the food? And just remember that's not real food. Ideally, you're eating that good stuff. So anyways, that was my add-in. So you take it from here. Your turn.
I love it. That sounds great. And the meal time as a time of celebration and relaxation, a time to get away from the stress of the day.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are kind of the extra puzzle pieces that even the listener who's totally dialed in right now can further optimize.
Yeah.
And I know from my history, from my time as a triathlete, where there was an actual legitimate goal to stuff as many calories down my face as possible every day, because if I didn't, I'd feel it at the next day's 5-hour ride. Mm-hmm. And so we'd go and hit the cereal bowl at 9:30 at night, or make a protein smoothie like my son does right now. He's trying to maintain and put on muscle as a college athlete, and he's making a smoothie at 10:30 at night. It's going to wake people up in the other part of the house. It's hilarious. But that's his mode right now, and into that accelerated cell division and muscle growth phase. That's great. But I'm referencing this because I need to sit down today and eradicate all, evidence of that guy who used to stuff too much food down his face every day, and just realize that I can enjoy a meal without having to clean off every bite on my plate like the old time triathlete did. And so, that emotional part, that mindset part, and we have a whole chapter in the new book about this, because, we're realizing, and, we've done a lot of these retreats and live events where, we're interacting with real people. And I've watched people come up to Mark Sisson with almost tears in their eyes saying, I'm doing everything you say to the letter, and I still can't drop this excess 10 pounds of body fat. And it's really frustrating to me, what's going on. And there we have to dig further into the psychology, the belief systems. Do you feel deserving of having a bikini body on your next cruise? Or are there things where you feel like those people are superficial and ridiculous, and I have a disparaging comment for those people that are showing off their bodies on Instagram? And those kind of things. I think you and I are both fans of the Bruce Lipton biology of belief, where your thoughts manifest your cellular function at all times. And I feel like there's probably a lot of us in these categories where maybe I don't feel deserving, and therefore I'm doing this cop out every single night when I reach for another scoop of ice cream to get that instant gratification, and behave in a manner that's not congruent with my stated goals because I'm not deserving of that. And that's a tough one to get hit with, but maybe that's the that's the secret weapon that goes beyond your shopping list, which is so perfect.
Well, that's what I do a lot of with clients. It's one-on-one. That's why I don't do as many group programs, because everybody has their areas of opportunity and things they need to work on. And we identify those lifestyle habits and things that they don't know about. And a great easy tip people can do is just before you eat, sit down and take 3 deep, long inhales, exhale, and just shift. And you feel that shift from sympathetic, fight, freeze, flight, freeze, and fight. Fight, flight, freeze, fight is what I heard. I like that freeze in between, because you're just like on, and then shift over to the parasympathetic, rest and digest. And I think, even we've been doing that all summer, because we'll be even in our Airbnb for 2 months in the mountains, looking like we're in Italy and Tuscany, that we'd be like going one thing to another and sit down and eat, and then get back to other stuff that you just, so stopping and doing that. Another thing is I try to work with clients not to snack. It's like mindful eating versus mindless eating. All right, if we had to snack 2 hours after you just ate a meal, let's work on what you ate and adjust those macronutrients. Maybe you need more protein, maybe you need more fat. Let's figure out what tweaks we need to make and adjust into that meal, so you feel full and energized, satisfied, and don't have cravings for hours. Then you eat the right amount. If you're eating or needing to snack because you're bored or you're stressed, how is your relationship to food? And then lastly, a lot of people go eat like that ice cream, even though it's a keto labeled ice cream, Do you need it? I think a lot of people think that, oh, because it says keto on it, it used to be paleo, now the word is keto. And then if there gets to be words that say food products with carnivore, then we know we're really in trouble, because carnivore is just animal. There shouldn't be any label package items, but all the keto approved foods now. So then they think that doesn't count as calories. So people it messes with your head. And I think we have to, I love your 2 meals a day, because that is great. Eat an early lunch, eat an early dinner, I'm good. And that's eat my main meal more in the afternoon, having a little something at night. If I feel hungry, stop eating 3 hours before bed is my thing. And intermittent fasting is unintentional.
Yeah, very well said. It's surprising the destruction caused by snacking. Our mutual fan, Dr. Kate Shanahan, she has promoted this idea really clearly that as soon as you consume any calories, the burning of body fat is put on hold, because you have to metabolize the calories. So even if it's a high-fat snack that doesn't spike insulin, anything you consume has some kind of insulin response, even a high-fat food, according to Dr. Kate. And so basically, every time you snack, you're putting your own body's ability to manufacture energy internally aside. We know this from keto. Is you drink a glass of orange juice, you're out of ketosis that you worked hard for 5 days to enter through dietary means, right? So it's kind of a big deal. I think you're onto something there, where we get to boredom or just a nervous habit to go and snack on some food because it's such a cultural centerpiece. And so it's a really good thing to look at and make sure that these meals are so satisfying that you're, clearly enjoying them and having a celebration, so that you're not worried about food later. I'm also remembering this interview I did recently with Cameron Rogers, who's a health coach in New York City, and she specializes in working with young people. And she was saying that in a lot of cases, depending on the personality type, if you start to, direct them to avoid these certain foods, they're going to start obsessing on them, and it's going to be a really tough battle. If they really love ice cream and they've had Ben and Jerry's their whole life, and their mom gave it to them when they were 7 to soothe and comfort them. And so if that's the case, her strategy is actually to say, hey, go frickin' ahead and have a couple spoonfuls and have it sitting there in your freezer, which other people say, don't put it in your house, don't tempt yourself, which I'm always bought into that idea as well. But if we're treading on sensitive ground here, there may be a opportunity to look at your own personality, what really works for you. And if you can't deal with that deprivation or that narrow path and that restriction, okay, fine. You know what? Have a couple spoonfuls and do it every single night if you need to, just to kind of satisfy that pattern. And I definitely think it's a personality thing. And I'm kind of like a freewheeling, free-spirited, unregulated person. So, if I start serving popcorn, I might eat
You and your popcorn.
2/3 of a bowl before I make it to the TV room to serve it to my family. And so, there might be an occasion for me to be like a cold turkey type of person. When I first got going with Sisson on the Primal Blueprint project in 2008, I went completely cold turkey to ditch grains. And that was, 12 years ago, where I'm pretty much a grain-free lifestyle with no problem, but it certainly wasn't a gradual weaning off. I just left his house and said, okay, so no more bread, no more rice, no more pasta. What about oatmeal? That's a grain too. Okay. And, to have that black and white approach, I think works for a lot of people. And then others need to have a gradual reduction and a careful regulation of their treats, and all that kind of stuff is definitely worth considering and mentioning in this realm.
Well, I always say you meet the client where they're at. And
that's a good one. I like that.
You have to work with each client. That's why individual coaching is a little more beneficial for people than a group class. It always costs more money, but it's going to be more tailored to your personality, how you work, how you learn, and digging deeper. And, it's the onion, peeling the layers off and kind of diving in deep to figure out your different triggers, your relationship with food, your history, as well as, what are some other things that are creating or contributing to what we say metabolic chaos, imbalances within your body systems, because one is off, multiple are off. So it's never just one thing. But anyways, I know we're out of time. Anything you want to throw in, Brad, to wrap up and kind of give us kind of update where to find everything and when your book's coming out?
Oh, sure. Thanks. This thing that I'm really excited about right now is what I call the MOFO Mission. And MOFO is this new supplement that I've created in association with the great folks at Ancestral Supplements. They make the freeze-dried animal organ supplements, very popular in the ancestral community as we try to reach that goal of consuming more organ meats. I'm not doing so great with cooking my brain and heart and liver.
Not going to happen ever with me, I'll tell you that.
So I've definitely been hitting these pills hard and feeling a great boost in, just cellular function, repair, faster recovery from workouts. But we created a product specifically to optimize the internal testosterone production in the male. And I know there's a call for a female.
Corey, I emailed Corey after I saw your thing. I'm like, wait, what about for females? And he said next year they'll come out with a female one.
That's right. They're actually working on it. So this has the particular agents, they call them proteins, peptides, enzymes, cofactors, and molecular biodirectors that help spur your internal testosterone production in a natural manner, unlike a drug regimen. And so it's been really successful. The response has been amazing. It came out in 2020. But I also feel like it's really important when you're going for the supplement, you're wondering about the expense and is it going to work and is it going to be worth it, to have a comprehensive lifestyle approach. So around this MOFO product, it stands for Male Optimization Formula with Organs, we have this MOFO Mission, and you can go download a free ebook and get tremendous details on these 10 assignments to get your male hormone function optimized with lifestyle behaviors, getting enough sleep, eating the right foods, doing those high intensity workouts in the proper manner rather than overdoing it, making sure you get enough general everyday movement. And also when it comes to relationships, I like to broaden the conversation to cover everything. I've had John Graham, my podcast 3 times, the great author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And he talks about how if you have dysfunctional relationship dynamics, it will trash your testosterone because your romantic partner is nagging you all day and making you feel like crap instead of making you feel like the hero in the story. And so the males and females need to interact in harmony so that they can both be the best they can be, especially in the realm of their sexuality and their biology and their drives and their needs to, optimize those hormone levels. So that's kind of fun. You can go to bradkearns.com and click on MOFO and download the ebook and learn more about the supplement. And of course, follow the Get Over Yourself podcast with all kinds of fun topics and different makeup of shows that I think the reader will really like, including the Debbie Potts show. You got to go find that one in the archives. And it's cool. People are finding the show, and then the episodes like yours are backfilling with new people. So, whatever the initial download rate was, more and more people are coming to it. And even though our show was maybe a year ago, it's still there sitting for you. You can listen to it anytime. Yeah.
Thanks for the plug. Well, good talking to you, Brad, and hopefully we can connect live in person once we have our kitchen. You can come on down. The guest room's done. We just need the kitchen in another 3 weeks. So good way not to eat so much is not have a kitchen.
Fun times. Thanks for having me, Debbie. Great show. Keep it up.
All right. Thanks, Brad. You're not going to sing? Wait, you always sing. We got to have
That's the end of our low carb show.
Thanks for listening to the Low Carb Athlete Podcast. If you have any questions, feedback, or topic suggestions, let us know on Facebook or at debbiepotts.net. You can help us to continue to grow by leaving a review on iTunes. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.